Good evening. Good evening. My name is Brendan Gill. I have the honor to serve as an Essex County Freeholder at Large and as the president of the Essex County Freeholder Board. And I'd like to welcome all of you to our annual Jewish Heritage Month celebration. Thank you for being here. This is one of the celebrations that we look forward to each year. That gives the board the opportunity to recognize people from various backgrounds that make up the unique weave and the fabric of the diversity in our county. I believe that diversity is what makes us great and moves us forward in so many areas. So again, I say welcome. Today we have assembled to recognize Jewish Heritage Month. And even though May is set aside as Jewish Heritage Month, we know that each and every day Jewish Americans are hard at work making a difference in all of our communities throughout Essex County. This afternoon, we have selected, I think, deserving individuals who have done just that. We'll be hearing from them and introducing them later on in our program. But I want to personally salute our honorees and sincerely thank you and your families for all that you do on behalf of the residents of Essex County. And it's really an honor to be able to have this ceremony here today. This was a tradition that was started many years ago. Prior to my being on the board, we recognize, as Freeholder Seabold can speak to, many different ethnicities and groups throughout our county, and I'm glad that we've been able to carry on that tradition and will continue to carry on as long as I have the honor to serve as the leader of this board. So with that, I'd like to bring up our cantor, Meredith Greenberg, to lead us in the national anthem, our Star Spangled Banner. Thank you. And yes, thank you.
Shall we face the flag?
Yes.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? You didn't sing with me. Now where do we face? Which way is east?
East would be,
Here we go.
Yeah, I think about the east.
Okay, thanks. Please join me. Kolod baleva penima nefesh Yehudi omia rifatei mizrach kadima ein Zion Sophia od lovda tikvateinu
Thank you so much, Cantor Greenberg. We couldn't have asked for a better cantor, so thank you so much. You'll have to forgive my voice. I'm just getting over a bad throat. So if it sounds funny, it is. At this time, I would like to ask Rabbi Faith Joy Dantowitz to join me at the podium to offer our opening prayer. And while she's walking forward, I will tell you that Rabbi Dantowitz has been a friend of mine for many, many years. I can't even count how many years. She joined Temple B'nai Abraham in Livingston in 2010, and of course I am a member of Temple B'nai Abraham, and that is where I see her so often. She received her BAS from the University of Pennsylvania's Moore School of Electrical Engineering and Applied Science. After ordination, she served as a rabbi at Congregation B'nai Jeshurun in Short Hills for 11 years. And of course, that's where I belonged when I was a kid. She is passionate about social justice and is a member of the Women's Rabbinic Network and CCAR. She is involved with Faith in New Jersey and the Do Not Stand Idly By campaign against gun violence. And that's where I also see her so many times. She received many awards for her work, as well as an honorary Doctor of Divinity for 25 years in the rabbinate. So please give a warm welcome to Rabbi Dantowitz.
Thank you, Pat. I did not expect an intro for my very brief prayer, but that was very kind. And yes, I do have an engineering degree, but I'm glad you got the sound system to work because I don't do that. So. Makor HaChaim, source of life, we thank you for the many blessings you bestow upon us each day. This week's Torah portion, Parshat Emor, is from the book of Leviticus and mentions a period of time known as the Omer, where our ancestors counted the days from Passover to Shavuot, a period of 7 weeks, in anticipation of the next harvest. An Omer is an ancient Hebrew measure of grain. Agriculturally, Passover is the beginning of spring with the early barley harvest. Shavuot falls near summer with the wheat harvest. Passover is the story of liberation, freedom, as Jews recall our ancestors' journey from slavery in Egypt to freedom. And this period of the Omer is a counting and a transition from freedom to responsibility, for it's on Shavuot when God gave the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai. Liberation is followed by revelation. We are not free when all of us are not free. We today are witnesses to the bounty of the labors of those who have planted seeds. And if you've planted seeds this past month of April, they're growing really well. At least the weeds in my backyard are. But we plant seeds, and we plant seeds of love and kindness, and we build resilience to endure ongoing challenges of anti-Semitism, racism, white supremacy, xenophobia, homophobia, misogyny, and so much more. And we endure. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, our God and God of our fathers and mothers, we thank you for the gift of freedom. And as we journey again to Sinai, to Shavuot and Revelation, we thank you for the gift of your Torah, which guides our steps and provides a moral blueprint. We ask you for continued strength to work towards freedom and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Now at this time, our county executive would welcome all of you here tonight. But unfortunately, he was unable to make it. But instead of the county executive, we have another very good friend of mine representing him tonight, and that is Jay Coultry. All my friends are here tonight, which is so wonderful. Jay and I have been friends forever also. So Jay, it's now your turn.
Good evening. On behalf of the County Executive, Joseph DiVincenzo, I'd like to congratulate Rabbi Katz and Linda Scherzer on receiving the awards this month for Jewish Heritage. But the funny thing about it is, I was thinking on the way up, what would I say? And then Linda and I had a brief conversation, and I looked at her background, and for 17 years you spent with CNN in Israel, and this coming week, like I had spoken to you, my son's graduating from Columbia, and I said, well, Linda, give me some advice to give him. So hopefully she can give me something before we leave this evening. And Rabbi, congratulations again on being a part of Essex County and putting us first. But thank you both, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much, Jay. I'd like to recognize a few individuals who are here with us tonight. First of all, we have Dr. Michael Festa, Essex County Health Officer. We have Eileen Fishman, and what is your title, Eileen? There's no card for you. Acting Director of Community Health Services. I remember, yes, Eileen was head of the Community Relations Committee, and that's when I first became a member, and that's when I first met another friend, Eileen Fishman. And also with us tonight is another friend, Jill Hirsch, who is the District Director for Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. And I first met Jill and became friends with her when she was working with Mikey Sherrill, when Mikey Sherrill was running for Congress, and we're really fortunate that we now have her as our Congresswoman in the district where I live. And tonight we have some colleagues with us from the Freeholder Board, also good friends of mine. We have Freeholder Carlos Pomares, Freeholder Robert Mercado, and I think I saw Freeholder Vice President Wayne Richardson walk in. I think I covered everyone. If I didn't, I'm sorry, stand up. So I'm Pat Siebold, I'm a freeholder at large, so I'm delighted to begin the presentation of our Jewish Heritage Month celebration by recognizing the tremendous work of a deserving individual, Linda Scherzer. So if you would, Linda, please join me at the podium. And I'll share some highlights for the commendation. Linda Scherzer is the director of the Community Relations Committee, the advocacy and public affairs arm of the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West. And I said before, I'm a member of CRC, and that's when I first met Eileen. As director, she mobilizes the Jewish community on national, state, and local issues and helps advance the interests and agenda of the Jewish community. Linda, along with her team, is also active in reaching out across religious and ethnic lines in our community, building relationships and coalitions with Christian and Muslim groups to advance issues of common concern. For the last 17 years, she has also led efforts to educate and engage Jewish high school students to lead the pro-Israel community when they get to college. As Jewish students have faced growing anti-Semitism and demonization of Israel on campus, Her efforts have helped strengthen students' knowledge and confidence to stand up for Israel. Prior to her work in the Jewish community, Linda was a CNN correspondent in Israel who spent 8 years covering the Arab-Israeli conflict. Among the stories she covered was the Intifada, Gulf War, and Mideast peace process. She is a recipient of 5 Associated Press Broadcasting Awards, and along with her colleagues at CNN, received a Cable ACE Award for coverage of the First Persian Gulf War. So tonight, for me, it is a real privilege to present you with this commendation for your leadership and tremendous contributions to the community. I also have a citation from Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill's office. So congratulations, Linda, and I hope you will now say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Freeholder Siebold, and to the Essex County Board of Freeholders. I am so deeply moved by this wonderful, wonderful honor. I'm grateful not only that you would recognize me and my friend and colleague Rabbi Katz tonight, but also that you would actually take it upon yourselves to bring attention to Jewish American Heritage Month, which, to be perfectly frank, is not even that well known or publicized in our own community, but there never, in my humble view, has there ever been a more important time to be doing that than this year, a time to celebrate and bring attention to all the achievements of the American Jewish community, which has been so active and so much a part of Jewish life for the past, American life for the past 360 years. This is a day of great joy for myself and for my family, but as Jews, we have embedded in our traditions the commandment that even during times of great joy, we must also remember the pain of others. As we know, this has not been an ordinary year in the life of the Jewish people. In October, at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, 11 Jews were killed during prayer, the worst act of anti-Semitism in U.S. history. 6 months to the day later, another Jewish woman was killed on the last day of Passover. In a synagogue, her rabbi's hand was shattered. And on college campuses, far too many of our college campuses, there are so many young people who are dealing with assaults on the Jewish state, marginalization of Jewish students, vitriol, demonization, double standards of the Jewish state. It is a very, very challenging environment for many Jewish students today. These attacks, along with others at churches, mosques, schools, other public places, are deeply painful, distressing, and unnerving, but they compel us to redouble our efforts to stand up, to reach out, to reassert the principles of tolerance and love for others that make us, as Americans and as Jews, who we are. Now, a few words about who I am. It may come as a surprise to you that I was not born in this country. I am not American by birth. I was actually born in Canada, in the city of Montreal, home to the finest bagels in North America. As a young teenager, I was drawn to a certain president, John F. Kennedy. I was enchanted and captivated by the ideals that he stood for, and I gobbled up and read virtually every book that was written about him and by him. I worked for his brother Ted over 2 summers and ended up studying politics and American studies at an American university. That was my dream, in Boston, no less. Because McGill simply didn't cut it, one of the finest institutions in Canada, I wanted to be studying American government in the United States, and I achieved that dream. In 2001, just 2 months before the attacks of 9/11, I achieved another dream, becoming an American citizen. It was truly one of the proudest moments of my life. Now, a word or two about my Judaism. I am sorry to say, in the presence of my daughters, 2 out of 3 of my children, and Rabbi Katz, I was not a model Jew growing up. I actually dropped out of Hebrew school before my bat mitzvah, but then something absolutely magical happened. I picked up a book that propelled me to Israel. It was there, as I was covering the Arab-Israeli conflict, that I actually discovered my Judaism, the beauty of my Jewish homeland with all its imperfections. And upon returning to this country, after 8 years, I rediscovered the richness of American Jewish life, the American values that welcomed me to this country as a minority, which allowed and encouraged me to study and to pray and to observe as my Christian neighbors do. That was another just beautiful moment in my life, and it was because of the institution of a synagogue. There is just one more institution that I need to recognize, and that is the institution of the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West, the convener of our Jewish community in Essex County and 4 other counties across our catchment area. It is here that I have performed the work that I believe is what you honor today. Advocating for the elderly and the disabled, helping to feed the hungry, supporting our cherished and beloved Holocaust survivors, fighting anti-Semitism, educating the next generation of Jewish leaders, and deepening our young people's connections to the state of Israel, whose values mirror the values of this Western democracy. It is where we express through our work the idea of tikkun olam, repairing the world, pursuing social justice, standing up for human rights, joining other faith communities to advocate for the issues that are important to all of us. So I accept this award with great honor and humility, with thanks to you, Essex County freeholders, and Pat Siebold, my friend, and also to the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West, whose professionals and lay leaders engage in this work with me. 3 decades ago, I was inspired by John F. Kennedy to ask not what this country could do for me, what I could do for this country. Today, I redouble my efforts to join with you, our elected leaders, other faith communities, and all good people in this country and this community to make this country, this place that inspired me and beckoned me so many years ago, to continue to pursue the values that make us a light unto the nations and the best and most beautiful nation on earth. Thank you so much.
Are we so fortunate that we have someone like Linda Schertzer who's willing to represent us? It is just so wonderful. We are really lucky that someone like her exists in this cruel world. At this time, I'm really pleased to have Cantor Meredith Greenberg grace us with a musical rendition. We heard her wonderful voice earlier when she led us in the anthems. As she prepares to sing, I'd like to share a little information about her. You can join me. You can join me. Meredith Greenberg has been a cantor of Temple near Tamid since 2008. She was ordained in 2009 by the Academy for Jewish Religion. She grew up in Hollywood, Florida, and has a Bachelor of Music and Voice from the Manhattan School of Music and has performed professionally as a soprano soloist in both Jewish and secular musical genres and venues. She has taught theory and general music in New York City schools, and for a few years even co-owned a catering and opera company called Divas Delight Incorporated with her spouse. Did I spell it right?
Diva's Delight, you were perfect.
Okay. Of primary concern to Cantor Meredith is that she be involved in as many aspects of synagogue life as possible. She has a very active family of her own, as she and her partner live in Montclair with their 3 sons. So let's give Cantor Greenberg a round of applause, and we'll listen to her wonderful voice.
Okay, thank you. What a beautiful introduction. So I'm going to offer a short prayer in Hebrew, an essential text of the prayer for peace in our tradition. May the one who makes peace in the places on high, the mystery, the places maybe we don't see but can feel, allow us to know and make that peace come to all of us, Israel, and Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, on all living things everywhere. What you're going to learn about Rabbi Katz is what a smart and wonderful guy he is in a moment, but what you don't know, but I know, and if you come and daven at Ner Tamid, you know, is that he is an excellent clapper. And so about halfway through this piece of music, I'm going to call on you to clap with me, not for me. Here we go. Oh, say shalom b'miramav. Yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Shalom imromav, ahuya shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, me'imru, imeru, amen. One more time on Yadarai, but you need to sing with me. Yadarai, la 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 Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for Cantor Greenberg. Thank you. For you and with you. Both, absolutely. Both, absolutely. Before we get started, we've also been joined by one of our colleagues. I wanted to make sure we recognize Freeholder Rufus Johnson, who is here and who's joined us. We almost have a quorum. Yeah, we do have a quorum. Yes, we do have a quorum. And Jill, I wanted to again thank you for taking the time on behalf of the Congresswoman for being here as well at this ceremony today. So again, a special shout out to you for being here with us today on behalf of Congresswoman Cheryl. I know I can say we're very proud to have her representing us in the United States Congress. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to make our final presentation for the 2019 Jewish Heritage Month celebration. It's my distinct honor to ask Rabbi Mark Katz to please join me at the podium. Let's give Rabbi Katz a round of applause. How are you? Good to see you. Before I read a little bit about Rabbi Katz, and I'm unfortunately, unlike Freeholder Siebold, I can't say that I've known Rabbi Katz for a long, a long period of time. I do consider, we have many mutual friends, and I do consider him to be a friend and a leader in our community. And it's, again, my honor to ask you to be here with us tonight. But something, and congratulations, Linda, to you as well, but something actually that you just said, Linda, brought something back to me that Rabbi connected directly to Temple Ner Tamid. When I was first elected to the Essex County Freeholder Board in 2012, I was asked to come to the temple by some very active members, one in particular active member, Mr. Kerry Shavado, who asked me to come down, but he wanted me to attend in all seriousness a meeting regarding the security of the temple, both from a grant perspective and also just from a facility perspective. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and at the time, my son was maybe 5 years old, and I dropped him off in Brookdale Park before I went to the meeting. When I came back for the meeting, he asked me where I was, and I explained to him where I was and what the purpose of the meeting was, and as only a 5-year-old can ask you, he asked me, why would anyone ever want to harm a place where people go to become closer to God as a 5-year-old, and it was at that moment. It just struck me at that moment as I tried to explain to him about different types of faith and what was out there in the world that what was before us and before him, and why small events, although we are small in number today, why these events are so critically important, to maintain traditions, to teach our children, and to stand up to anti-Semitism in all of its forms and in any place, anywhere, at any time. And probably more now so in certain, and I don't say that as a partisan matter, I say that just as a general matter, probably more so now more than ever in some respects. So with that, Rabbi, it's been an honor to actually be able to be a part of that process, and both to be also considered part of your community. I'd like to read a little bit about your background, and I just encourage everyone to take the programs too, because the programs go even more in depth on our honorees tonight, and they really are truly outstanding honorees. Rabbi Mark Katz is the rabbi at Temple Ner Tamid in Bloomfield. He is originally from Barrington, Rhode Island. We will not hold that against him. Yeah, that's right. He's in Bloomfield now. That's right. Freeholder. My colleague, Freeholder Pomeris, will keep me honest on that. I'm a Montclair resident, but I did represent the 5th District and now represent the entire county. But Montclair and Bloomfield, I'm sure, as you know, Rabbi, always have a little healthy competition. But he received his Bachelor of Arts from Tufts University. At Tufts, he studied comparative religion while serving as the captain of his college swim team. Before entering rabbinical school, he worked as a legislative assistant for the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, lobbying for environmental protection and healthcare reform on behalf of the Reform movement. Since coming to Bloomfield, he has been involved in a host of projects and initiatives at the temple. In addition to leading services, providing pastoral care, teaching, and leading life cycle moments for congregants, he has helped launch a monthly learning series on Israel and the congregation's leadership series, which brings in a host of elected officials to talk about social justice issues. I had the opportunity to attend one that was just held recently with Congresswoman Cheryl and former U.S. Attorney Paul Fishman. It was excellent, informative, and you are to be commended for that civic engagement. Additionally, he has launched a congregational campaign around getting undocumented immigrants driver's licenses. He is also the author of a book, The Heart of Loneliness, How Jewish Wisdom Can Help You Cope and Find Comfort, which was a finalist for the National Jewish Book Award. He has written for numerous publications, including Tablet Magazine, the CCAR Journal, and is a contributing writer for the Sacred Encounter, Jewish Perspectives on Sexuality. Rabbi Katz and his wife and son live in Montclair, Freeholder Promeris. That's right. That's right. He can often be found running or on his bike and is always excited to talk about what you are reading. So again, it's my honor and privilege tonight to present you with this commendation for your leadership and numerous contributions to Essex County at large. So congratulations, Rabbi Mark Katz. Rabbi, congratulations. Just turn it away from me. Okay. 2 shots.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'll grab that. Sorry. Yes. We also have a citation from Congresswoman Cheryl, which we will give that a round of applause to. With that, we'll let you,
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll talk and
Okay.
hold it back.
We're still working out the kinks.
All right. So thank you very much for this honor. And Linda, it's so great to be honored beside you. I have heard, coming in about 9 months ago and beginning this job, I've heard really amazing things about the work that the freeholders do. And so it's really my pleasure to be able to come here and, not only be here for the first time, but learn a little bit about the work that you do and how we can partner together, really. Being a rabbi, it makes the most sense probably for me to quote a little bit from this week's Torah portion. And so this week's Torah portion tells a story that's actually a really problematic story, but I think has a really powerful moral to it. It tells a story of a man who's half Israelite and half Egyptian. And there's something that happens between him and the community that causes him to ultimately decide that he wants to blaspheme God. And in doing so, he gets so angry, he says this, and he's ultimately punished for it. And 2,000 years ago, our ancient rabbis asked this question, which is basically what happened to the guy? That the guy got so upset that he turned away and decided that he no longer wanted to be part of the community. And their answer was that this particular man, by being half Israelite and half Egyptian, didn't belong anywhere. He tried to set up his tents with his mother's tribe. But because most people set their tents up with their father, and his father was an Egyptian, he was told to go away. And then he went and sought some other place to put his tent up. And he was told that you needed to put your tent up with your tribe. Now, trapped in a place where he could not find a way to belong, he had no choice but to turn away. And his story is a cautionary tale, one that is incredibly profound, about what it means to look for people who often fall through the cracks, those who are the most vulnerable and those that we might lose. Because at its core, it is those people for whom the Jewish tradition cares the most about. We are told no less than 36 times in our Torah to care for the widow, and the orphan and the stranger. And that's because Judaism seeks to create an ethos, to create a worldview, a prism from which to see. And when we look through that, we are supposed to look at the world through goodness and through justice. And it has been a watchword of my rabbinate, and I think the watchword of our Jewish people, to constantly seek to be a light to the whole world, bringing that goodness there. Now, the work that we've been working on at Temple Ner Tamid has just begun to scratch the surface. We've brought in voices to talk about criminal justice reform. We've launched campaigns to allow those who are here and undocumented to have driver's licenses so they can go to work, go grocery shopping if they live in food deserts, have access to health care. We soon will be launching a campaign to talk about water in Essex County, which ultimately is one of the more polluted water systems in the area. And being in Bloomfield, which is highly affected by this, is something that our congregation cares deeply about. At the end of the day, if you don't care about those who are the most vulnerable around you, you are not living out the mandate of our tradition to not stand idly by while your neighbor suffers, to love your neighbor as yourself, to speak truth to power, and to rebuke those who need rebuke. Now, I grew up in Barrington, Rhode Island, and unfortunately, to many here, I am a Red Sox fan. But at its core, I learned in my community, growing up as a proud Reformed Jew, about the need to take care of those on the margins. And being a kind of more awkward, shy kid when I was growing up, I found that that open sense that Judaism brought, the same sense that gives us the mandate to speak out to justice, is that sense that a shy kid needs to find its way in. And informed by the power of Judaism and by models of rabbinic leadership in my history, I always, since I could remember, wanted to be a rabbi. Because I saw that Judaism stood for things. And because it looked at the world and asked questions about what mattered, I realized that it could inspire other people to do the same. Being in a political institution right now, people often say to me that Judaism is not political, nor should it be political. But what I want to say is that religion at its core is a political institution, because politics is about asking the fundamental questions of life and seeking answers to them through action. Things, for example, like what kind of world do we want to build? Things like what is the nature of equality? Questions about what is the difference between a want and a right? A question about what does being human mean? And therefore, what are we owed simply because we are created in God's image? And therefore, it becomes the job of the religious individual to partner with the political institutions around him or her to create a bridge and a pathway to the future that we can all envision together. I think we can agree that the world as it is not the world as it could or it should be. And therefore, we join hands together, first within our community, and then among the communities around us, to march toward that better future and to create a place where every single one of us belongs. Now, Linda spoke before about the power of one president in her life. I want to speak about another that came long before JFK. Growing up in Rhode Island, I stood in the shadow of one of the most famous letters ever written in America, and definitely to the Jewish people. I grew up about 30 minutes away from Toro Synagogue, one of the oldest synagogues in the country. And hanging on the wall in Toro Synagogue is a letter written to President George Washington, who happened to be passing by. Now, the president of the congregation was really nervous because this burgeoning nation that he stood in, he didn't know whether the Jewish people would find a place. The first Jews to ever come to America, a group of immigrants in the 1600s from Brazil, were first turned away when they got here by the Dutch settlers who were here in New Amsterdam. They found not a friendly face, not an open hand in Peter Stuyvesant, but rather a cold shoulder. And they needed to leverage business connections that they had to eventually be able to stay. So seeing this new nation, they feared that they wouldn't have a place. So they wrote to George Washington and they asked him. And George Washington responded and said, not only do you have a place here, but everyone has a place here. That religious freedom is guaranteed here in the United States, and therefore your success is our success. And from that time forward, the sense that we have a shared destiny has informed the place of Jews in this country. It's helped us feel supported after recent tragedies, and it's helped us stand and support those who also need comfort and love. And so therefore, we take that lesson today and we march forward. George Washington's words are an inspiration for each of us. That our success as Jewish people is wrapped into the destiny of America. And therefore, we can walk forward together. Thank you.
I'm back. As this program comes to a close, I want to once again congratulate the honorees. So let's give them a great round of applause. On behalf of the entire board, I thank each of you for sharing this evening with us. As we celebrate Jewish Heritage Month, I am excited, proud, and honored to be a Jewish American and to be the catalyst for the board's celebration. I thank the Freeholder President and the Freeholder Vice President and the entire board for their support ensuring this celebration is carried out each year. Our County Executive, Joe DiVincenzo, has a tagline that we all have adopted, and it speaks to this occasion and many other occasions that we celebrate in Essex County. And that tagline is, "Our diversity is our strength." Today is no exception, and Essex County is probably the most diverse county in New Jersey. We are a community made up of many people and many ethnicities. And when we look closely, we find that we have more in common than not. So I thank all those who participated in the program tonight, Rabbi Dankowitz for her prayer, Cantor Greenberg for her wonderful voice, and especially to our honorees, Linda Scherzer and Rabbi Mark Katz. We appreciate you and all that you do. We also encourage and support you as you continue to help and inspire others. Finally, you are all invited to a reception that has been prepared just down the hall in the Blonnie R. Watson Conference Room, room 501. We hope that you will stay, enjoy the food, greet our honorees after we have taken photographs. So after the closing prayer, honorees, please remain in the chamber for photos. So to everyone present, thank you so much for coming out to celebrate with us. And thank you to our person who put this all together, Jallo. and Debbie Marvel, and Kathy Brown. Thank you very much for all that you did. So at this time, I will ask Rabbi Dantowitz, my rabbi, to please come forward to offer our closing prayer.
I'm not as tall as you. Tzedchem l'shalom. May all who leave this place be blessed as you go on your way. And we ask God to bless the work of our freeholders and all the people who are helping make Essex County better. And we are all inspired by our honorees today, the works of your hands, the works of your hearts, and your beautiful words that you each shared. We are grateful that you strive for wholeness and holiness. And in this Jewish Heritage Month of celebration, that we can share our love for Judaism, our Jewish pride, and to celebrate every person's pride. And I'd like to just share part of Marge Piercy's The Art of Blessing the Day, a beautiful poem. This is the blessing for sun after long rain. Now everything shakes itself free and rises. The trees are bright as pushcart ices. Every last lily opens its satin thighs. The bees dance and roll in pollen. And the cardinal at the top of the pine sings at full throttle, fountaining. This is the blessing for the first garden tomato. Those green boxes of tasteless acid the store sells in January. Those red things with the savor of wet chalk, they mock your fragrant name. How fat and sweet you are weighing down my palm, warm as the flank of a cow in the sun. You are the savor of summer in a thin red skin. This is the blessing for political victory. Although I shall not forget that things work in increments and epicycles, and sometime leaps that half the time fall back down. Let's not relinquish dancing while the music fits into our hips and bounces our heels. We must never forget, pleasure is real as pain. But the discipline of blessings is to taste each moment, the bitter, the sour, the sweet, and the salty, and be glad for what does not hurt. The art is in pressing attention to each little and big blossom of the tree of life, to let the tongue sing each fruit its savor, its aroma, and its use. Attention is love, what we must give children, mothers, fathers, pets, our friends, the news, the woes of others. What we want to change, we curse and then pick up a tool. Bless whatever you can with eyes and hands and tongue. If you can't bless it, get ready to make it new.
This meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper. Here. Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Johnson. Present. Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Palmeras.
Here.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Seabold.
Here.
Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Please stand for the salute to the flag. I'm going to ask if Freeholder Seabold could lead us in the salute.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask that we please remain standing for a moment of silence, and if we could keep in our thoughts and prayers Lillian Thomas, or the Lillian Torres family, excuse me, who works Lillian works in our office and lost her father this week. So we ask that we keep the Torres family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Yes, Mr. President, there are two, March 27th, 2019, and April 10th, 2019, both conference and board meetings.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Freeholders do have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion and a second to approve the transcripts?
I'll move, Mr. President. I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Freeholder Johnson, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson? Yes. Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes
So
on,
moved.
sorry, Madam Clerk, I'm yes on March 27th, and I believe present not voting on for April 10th.
So noted.
Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, let's move to the public comment session. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, whether it is on the agenda or not, you'll have an opportunity to speak. Please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is William Graves, and I live in the Tuxedo Park section of South Orange. I'm a member of Soma Action and a member of the Voting Rights Committee of Soma Action. First, I'd like to commend President Gill on his op-ed piece supporting voter-marked paper ballots, which will then be optically scanned. I understand, based on a letter from the Freeholder Board, that the Superintendent of Elections plans to conduct a review of voting machines, and we would urge the board to require that the Superintendent of Elections have the input and assistance of a person who is knowledgeable about computer science and about voting machines. What's on the market essentially are a series of computers, and we need someone who can assist the Superintendent of Elections, who is knowledgeable of the machines, knowledgeable of computer science, and we urge the board to take action. Thank you very much.
My name is Mary Gallagher from Maplewood. I'm with Soma Action and New Jersey Appleseed Public Interest Law Center. I'm here to talk about voting machines too, and to advocate for the same kind of paper ballots marked by hand and tabulated by optical scanners. Thank you, Freeholder President Gill, for your op-ed in support of this. Soma Action wholeheartedly agrees with your statement that protecting the accuracy and veracity of our election results is the most important issue that we need to address to protect our democracy. New Jersey is way behind the curve on this. 37 states now use paper ballots with optical scanners. New York switched in 2010. The first bill introduced in the Democratic House in January, H.R. 1, was for the People Act, and it required paper ballots and optical scanners. Every Democrat in the New Jersey delegation was a co-sponsor, and every Democrat in the House voted for its passage on March 8th. Hand-marked paper ballots and optical scanners are also much cheaper because they can handle 3 times as many voters, so you don't need to buy as many of them. Computer expert Andrew Appel of Princeton University did the math. He estimated what it would cost Essex County, $5.5 million for touchscreen paper ballot machines. But for optical scanner machines, you would pay either $2.77 million or $1.23 million. And the reason there are 2 different estimates for that is because blind voters can't do the hand marking. They need a device, and the difference is whether the device is attached to the scanner or it's separate from the scanner. But either way, you save millions of dollars. Please don't make the same mistake as Union County, which bought the wrong kind of paper ballot machine, the Express Vote XL. The way that works is you feed the ballot into the machine, the voter presses the touch screen, makes their choices, a printout is displayed behind a window, the voter presses cast, and the ballot drops into a container. 2 big problems. It assumes that voters are going to take the time to look at the printout, but people are on the way to work, they're trying to catch a train, they're on their way home. A 2018 study showed that half of the people don't bother to look at it at all, and those who do average 4 seconds. More important is that what gets tabulated by the scanner is the barcodes on that ballot. And the voters can't look at that and know that the barcode matches the names that are printed on it. That machine could have been programmed to flip votes when it's fed into the scanner, and the voter will have no way to know that. When the voters themselves mark the ballots, though, you know exactly what
30
you've
seconds.
The right to vote is our most fundamental right because it enables us to protect all the other ones. Please do your utmost to protect that right. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bert Kimmelman. I'm a resident of Maplewood, and I'm also a member of Soma Action. I agree with what the last two speakers have said completely. I want to just add two things to that. One, I just want to point out in the news yesterday in Florida, there were two, I think, counties or two voting places where the machines, it was reported that the machines were hacked. And amazing to me was the governor not wanting to say anything more because of a non-disclosure agreement. That baffles me. But that's another matter. But what I wanted to say is that I think our society, in generally speaking, is more naive about computing and about how America is, I don't want to be histrionic about it, but how America is under attack. And we need to be able to depend on our votes. If you use a voting machine that prints out what is supposedly a voter's choice, there's the possibility for hacking, for corruption, and so forth. I was extremely pleased by Mr. Gill's op-ed, as many, many other people were, but I noticed that, I think it was there that I read that there was a point missing, which is that if you have a computer that's a standalone, that you can rely on it to translate the button pushing of a voter into something on hard copy. You cannot. Coding can create in the future problems and misvotes, and that's something to be considered. The money is right for getting hand-marked ballots. That's the thing that we really, really have to do, and we in New Jersey are behind the rest of the most of the rest of the country on this. Thank you.
Good evening, Freeholder President Gill and the rest of the freeholders. Thank you for your service. First of all, Al Anthony, Mayor of Livingston. I'm here with Councilman Sean Klein. Just want to note number 25 on the agenda tonight. We're here to say thank you for putting this on the agenda. Thank you to the county executive and each and every freeholder for recognizing the need for improvements to Riker Hill Art Park in Livingston County Park. I had the privilege and honor to be mayor in 2016, where we passed a resolution looking for improvements to Riker Hill Art Park. The county listened, held several town hall meetings, listened to our residents' desires up there, and now I see that there is an allotment of $1.186 million for phase one for the Riker Hill Art Park. I'd like to thank personally our Livingston resident, Pat, sorry. Got ran over. Pat Siebold, for all your hard work on this, and all the freeholders and the county executive as well. So thank you. Much needed improvements to Riker Hill Art Park will bring hours and hours of entertainment and recreation for all the residents in Essex County. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Sean Klein. I'm councilman in Livingston, as my good friend Mayor Al Anthony just said. It's great to be here amongst so many friends in a more official capacity. I'm also here to talk in support on 25 on your agenda of improving this contract. Riker Hill Art Park is a beautiful piece of 42-acre grounds that are in Livingston, and it is in disrepair. The grounds don't look great, the roads don't look great, the buildings are in shambles, and so it really could use a little TLC from the county, and we're really excited in Livingston that you guys are stepping forward to do that. We know that phase one is happening now. I'm going to just plant some seeds that we would also look forward to phase two, whenever that might be available to us. There is a incredible dinosaur park with fossils, and it's in the National Registry for Natural Places. It was placed there in 1971, and there are fossils everywhere, and it's right adjacent to it. And there's a walkway that could be sort of spruced up, and this could be incorporated into the complex. And also, it's the highest point in Essex. And that was one of the reasons why it was selected for using radar for some of the missile defense technology that we had, from decades gone past. And there could be a great telescope at the top of this, because the view of the sky is so beautiful. It's a great place for a telescope. So we can almost turn Riker Hill Art Park into the Riker Hill Arts and Sciences Park. And I think that's something that the whole county would benefit from. It could be a very exciting place to bring children on adventures, and something else that not only would the county be proud of, but also Livingston would be very proud of. So, we're just here to say, first of all, thank you very much to everyone here. We're very excited about this. We think it's going to become a jewel, just like everything else, all the park system in the county. Everything you guys touch is, it's just beautiful, and we're excited to get some of that TLC in Livingston. So thank you very much to Freeholder Seabold and to the rest of the freeholders, and we look forward to your good works.
My name is Paul Alfano. I'm a station engineer at the Department of Public Works for 32 years. Only recently I have been attending freeholders meetings because of a serious situation. Essex County Administration has provided third-party contractors with all my family's private information, social security numbers, birth dates, without my consent. I believe there's a violation of my Fourth Amendment. Public officers, such as freeholders, are supposed to protect my constitutional rights, not violate them. Essex County has also retaliated against my family and I for me exercising my First Amendment right to freedom of speech. On Tuesday, May 14th, 2019, my wife took my son to the doctor only to find out that all my dependents' health insurance had been canceled on April 30th. My wife and I did everything required. We faxed marriage licenses, birth certificates, income tax information to the private contractor doing the health insurance audit. This is no mistake. We never received any letter from the county or the private contractor that our insurance was going to be canceled. I think there's retaliation, and if the Freeholder Board thinks this is going to make me be quiet because they took away my family's health insurance, that ain't happening. I'll be back. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, freeholders. My name is Whitney Strube. I live here in Newark, and I would like to speak against your contract with ICE once again. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not at my most coherent tonight because it's finals week at Rutgers, but I want to make a comparison to a protest on Saturday that I'll be attending against the building of a new youth prison in Newark. We know that youth in Newark are incarcerated at disproportionately racist rates. A new youth prison will affect Black and Latinx young people. And we also know that building the capacity for it is what enables the state to do the incarceration. That's a very basic lesson of people who do prison studies. If you build it, you will inevitably incentivize filling it. And so, you know, in thinking about our contemporary opposition to that project of a racist prison building project for young people here in Newark, I want to link that to the ICE jail that you currently run here in Newark's Ironbound, because when you look back to the origins of the contract that built this structure in 2011, you know, I think what you see is a lot of the same critiques that are going on today about the youth prison, namely that building this will facilitate ICE doing its work. This is a critique that came from groups like AFSC and First Friends and Pax Christi at the time. And I think what we see today is that they are correct, that after bail reform was passed in 2017, which gave us a real opportunity to rethink the building of carceral power here in Newark, that is the capacity to profit off of putting people in cages, instead of rethinking that and doing what we should have done then, which is downsize the county jail, we essentially jumped on the Trump bandwagon and saw a cash cow here in ICE's racist immigration detention policies. And that was all very obvious back in 2011. In fact, it was obvious in 2008 when Essex County first began holding immigrants. Before signing the contract with ICE, Essex County took billings from the U.S. Marshals Service, and the very first news article about this, Jailing Federal Inmates Draws Criticism, in July of 2008, features a striking quote. It's all about the multi-million payday that they are going to get from the federal government. And that did not come from a leftist protester. That actually came from Joseph Amato, president of the Policemen's Benevolent Association, Local 382. And so what you see is that, they on the left and the far right were all opposed to profiteering off of immigrant detention. I had more I was going to add about the sort of rotten origins of the contract. As you may recall, even U.S. Senator Frank Lautenberg considered it a pretty rotten bidding process and looked into it at the time. And essentially, this system has been rotten and corrupt from the start, as seen in the contracts with groups like Keith Commissary, which bribed officials in Mississippi, like the food contract that I guess Joe D. withdrew with the company that led to national shame over the slimy meat. In any case, it's not a salvageable system, and I urge you to stop collaborating with ICE and break the contract. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Rizzo. I'm a resident of Newark, New Jersey. I've come before the Freeholders many times over the past several months, and I'm here again to ask that the Freeholders end their contract with ICE. And just to put it on the record again, here are the three asks that I and many of the people who are here tonight support. One, implement a phased process to end the ICE contract that prioritizes the needs of the immigrants detained there, ensuring that they are not further harmed from the facility's close. Along the way to that, to fund universal legal representation for the immigrants that are detained there. And finally, to ensure that while the contract is still in existence, that the conditions at the facility are fit for humans, and to do this through an independent community review board. Now that I've said that, though, I'd like to pick up on some of the notes that my colleague Whitney Strube has just mentioned. Many of us have argued before you over the last several months that this contract is immoral because it capitalizes on the pain and suffering and detention of human beings. And we've repeatedly called for this contract, a blood money contract because it puts profits over people's lives. But what I'd like to do tonight is to ask you for a little bit more detail about who actually profits from this contract. So we know that the county contracts with several companies to provide services to run the jail facility and the detention facility. These include food services, the commissary, health services, phone services, and probably many, many others that we are not aware of. So first, in the interest of full transparency, I request that the Freeholders put on the Essex County website a list of all the subcontracts that are part of the Essex County contract with ICE. So we want to see who is being subcontracted with and for how much money. This should be made available to the public. Secondly, I wanted to note a response that I received to a question I asked a few weeks ago. I asked about ICE detainees working at the facility, and I was told that ICE detainees work in the kitchen. The wage for working 5 days a week, 30 hours total, is $42. So I'm not great with math, but with a calculator, I figured out that that's $1.40 an hour. Now, for many detainees who are locked up for 24 hours a day, they may actually like to have a little bit of time away from their cells. But I think we can all agree that this is actually indentured servitude, right? And we may ask, what do they do with the $42 that they've earned after 30 hours of work a week? Well, they probably spend it at the commissary on snacks, because we know the food is inedible. And we know that the commissary is marking up the prices there to ridiculous levels. So basically, we've created a system that is a company store. where people are paid and the only way they can spend that money is in the
Time is up.
facility itself. So what I request is that we have more transparency and an audit of these subcontracts so that we can really understand whether private companies are profiting from the detention of immigrants in this facility. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alan Kendall. I am a resident of Woodbridge, and I am here on behalf of the other two to speak out against the ICE contracts. Thank you. Now, here's the thing, though. As you already heard from my colleagues about a lot of the slave labor that is occurring, I really honestly have to tell you that this really does tell you something about the infamous loophole in our Constitution, about the one that abolished slavery, but still leaves that infamous loophole that still allows slavery to occur even among those who are the most vulnerable in our society. And right now I'm talking about those who are running from violence, who are running from drugs. People want to say, they use this argument, they say it's MS-13 we're being afraid of. Here's the problem, most of the people they round up, those MS-13 are native born. They did not come across the border, okay? They talk about the war on drugs. Here's the problem, the war on drugs is what started these cartels, causing many of these people to flee. And the problem is now, as you heard, they're now using it for companies to exploit these people. There's also reports now saying that sexual assaults occur in these facilities. People are in danger of sexual assault, and ICE tries to claim that they're not responsible for that, which obviously they are. They say we must obey the law when they have no problem disobeying the law, whether it's trying to prosecute people crossing the border just for the crime of crossing the border. No murder, no rape, not even drugs. It's just for crossing the border, okay? Nobody was hurt from that. But right now, we have a crisis here, okay? And like it or not, with ICE, it is causing a number of neighborhoods to not trust the police. It's not allowing people to trust federal agencies. It is not allowing anybody to think they can go to the cops even when a crime is committed. So I'm urging all of you that this has to stop. We all know that many of the people that are hiding here are not criminals. They need help, not detention. They need representation. They have to have some kind of service here to make things at least tolerable, because even now you have people who are granted asylum, but they're denied a work visa, making it very hard for them to be able to work and feed themselves here. In fact, this has gone so bad now where even people who protest ICE and DHS,
30 seconds.
Thank you. It's people who protest ICE and DHS, like last year with the child separation policy. It's just been coming out now that ICE and DHS have been using a private intelligence firm to monitor all the people at these demonstrations. So everybody, all of you who are at these demonstrations, chances are you are monitored. They've been gathering information about you. And what was my crime? Because I exercised my democratic right to protest, nothing else. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Good evening. My name is Kate Dodd. I live in Orange, and I appreciate your time here tonight. I'd like to put a human face on what our taxes are facilitating and the income that we're getting from ICE detention is facilitating. Abdikadir Mohammed had a one-year permanent residency document he'd been granted by the U.S. Embassy in Johannesburg. He arrived in Newark. He was hoping to travel on to Ohio to meet with his pregnant wife and their one-year-old daughter. The Tactical Terrorism Response Team, or TTRT, stopped him, even though he had legal papers to come into the country, and they gave him options. One option, to go back to South Africa, where he was coming from and had suffered physical assaults by xenophobic gangs, or to go back to war-torn Somalia, where he was originally born. He told the CBP officer, said he wanted to speak to a lawyer, and he was told that if he wanted to contest his deportation and seek asylum, he'd have to face an immigration judge. He was put in handcuffs and transferred to the next day to the detention center in Elizabeth, New Jersey. A parole request to be freed while his asylum claim was adjudicated was denied by ICE. Last May, he missed the birth of his second daughter. Tariq Ismail, a senior staff attorney at the Creating Law Enforcement Accountability and Responsibility Project, is representing Mohammed, and he had this to say. Mohammed did everything required by the law. Yet even though he was stamped in as a lawful permanent resident, he's now languishing in detention in separation from his family for the past 17 months. Abdikadir wanted to be here to work and help take care of the kids so he could continue school, but he's not able to. So now his wife is working 7 days a week, despite the fact that she has her oldest daughter is 2 years, 3 months, and she also has a newborn. The oldest daughter has only seen her father twice. In November, Mohammed was admitted to the hospital in the detention facility. He had been complaining of chronic pain in his back and side over the past 8 months. Shackled to a hospital bed, surrounded by guards, he underwent medical tests and was told that he had developed a serious but non-infectious form of tuberculosis. In response to a request for comment, an ICE spokesman said, Abdikadir Mohammed, a Somali national, illegally, and I question that, present in the U.S. is in ICE custody pending proceedings before the immigration court due to immigration violations. I'm not aware what the violations were. It doesn't seem that there are any. And added, ICE takes very seriously the health, safety, and welfare of those in our care. I think we all know that that's not true
30
based on what
seconds.
we've been seeing going on in the news. And an upcoming hearing is going to be for Mohammed on May 21st. So I think it's fabulous that there was an op-ed in the newspaper recently about the voting machine issue that previous speakers were talking about. Where's the op-ed about this? Why aren't we hearing from you about your position on this? If you think that this is the position you should take, why haven't you defended yourselves? And if you don't think it's the position you should take, let's get moving. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Jay Arena. I'm with the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign. I live here in Newark, New Jersey. At the last meeting, Patricia Seabold, Freeholder Seabold, was a big fan of Joe D., always singing his praises, the amazing plans. She talked about it, the unveiling of the garage plans. But at the last meeting, she said the ICE blood money contract is really about a humanitarian effort to keep immigrants close to their families. Let's be clear, that is a lie. That is a bold lie. Joe D., Deportation Joe, has made it perfectly clear that this is about raising revenue, as he explained to Matt Katz at WNYC. And that is also the position. Raising revenue through a blood money contract is also the position of his hack, Ileana Pintor-Marin, the assistant county administrator to Mr. Jackson here, who administers this blood money contract. Ileana Pintor-Marin is also, doesn't like raising revenue by taxing the rich. As the head of the, she's an assemblywoman, the head of the budget committee of the New Jersey Assembly, she opposes the minimum millionaires tax that Governor Murphy, much less than what the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign is calling for. She opposes that. So she's made it clear. She would rather raise revenue through blood money contracts. Listen up, Mr. Consigliere. We're coming to you too. Rather than taxing the rich. Furthermore, not only does she not want to tax the rich and continue this blood money contract, she would rather give away corporate welfare through the Economic Development Authority tax credit scheme that furthermore has fueled gentrification and, by the way, helped real estate people like her husband. So we, the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign, and our candidates, Nichelle Velasquez and Yolanda Johnson, who is here in the chambers, challenge Ileana Pintor-Marin, Mr. Jackson's employee, and she's conveniently avoided today's meeting. We challenge her to a debate, to the central issue of this campaign. Are we going to fund this county through a blood money contract, or are we going to tax the billionaires and millionaires to fund and expand the public services that we need? We need to end this. And the consigliere, Mr. Gill, you have said if you're on the board in 2026, you're going to vote against it. But if it's wrong in 2026, it's wrong in 2019. It needs to end now. And furthermore, yeah, we heard you wrote an editorial on the voting. When are you going to write an editorial? When are you going to stand up to Joe D. instead
Time's
of getting on your knees and praising him? When are you going to stand up and to the hacks, Ileana Pintor Marine, who are jamming your buddy, Joe, your client, Governor Murphy? We know what's clear. They're standing with Sweeney, they're standing with Norcross, and you don't say a word because the Democratic Party's incapable of leading this fight. Your boss is being slapped around. When are you going to stand up? But we are standing up. The Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign, Michelle Velasquez and Yolanda Johnson, we're running on a platform of jobs for all, equal rights for all, free public services for all, making the rich pay. We say put a tax on the income and the wealth of the billionaire class. Just like working class people pay for their wealth in their home, we say put a tax on their wealth as well and end this war machine, including the attack on Venezuela.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one wishing to speak at this time. Before we move into ordinance and resolutions, I am going to take a point of personal privilege to just say to make a couple of comments from some of those who have spoken tonight about who may not have been aware of my comments or prior statements. To be very clear on the ICE issue, and an earlier speaker asked, when will I say something? I've been very clear on my position on this issue. I fully supported universal representation, worked very hard with the Vice President of this board, Wayne Richardson, to make sure that the administration put money into this budget to get us to full universal representation for our ICE detainees. I have been very clear and on the record. That I support an independent oversight board for this facility. And what I said at the meeting in South Orange was not that whether or not I was going to be on this board in 2026, but what I said is I fully support a responsible wind down to this contract, and when it comes back before this board, I will not vote for it again. That is my position. And I have made that position clear both in correspondence, both in public meetings, and I made it clear again here tonight. So thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Yes, Mr. President, we have one.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we can please read it to the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, please read the ordinance. Explain the ordinance. Thank you.
County Council, Mr. President, is here to explain.
Good evening. Courtney Gassione, Essex County Council. Through you, Mr. President. This ordinance is seeking the board's approval to amend the Essex County Code in connection with Article 4, Chapter 130, the Streets and Sidewalks section of the County Code. Upon review of the County Code, it was determined by the Office of County Counsel as well as the Sheriff's Department that there was not a mechanism in place to allow Essex County Sheriff's officers to enforce emergency no parking signs that are posted throughout the county on county roads. The amendment to this ordinance will allow county sheriff's officers to enforce no parking signs in the event of inclement weather, special events, and the like when needed so that they can keep the streets safe. There will be a requisite fine of $54 in the event that somebody is in violation of the no parking sign postings that will allow for better enforcement of the safe streets that we're trying to accomplish. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions.
Mr. McInerney, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Freeholders, any questions or comments? Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to introduce this ordinance?
So move.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham absent. Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Mikado?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmieri?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Seabold? Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
There are none.
Okay. Let's move to resolution number 1, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, this is from the Office of the Board of Taxation. It's a 2-year contract extension with Vital Communication that does data processing for tax records and reports. And a representative is here from Vital Communications to address this item.
Good evening, distinguished freeholders. I don't know, can you hear me?
Please, a little drop for you.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Timoney. I'm from Vital Communications, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have about the impending contract. We provide services to the County Tax Board for tax appeals, for sales ratio, for book printing, certified Mod 4 vendor. We also have a special interface with the Registrar's Office that allows information to be transferred back and forth without paper copies. We strike the tax rates, the abstract rateable, and the equalization for the County of Essex.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
I don't have any questions. I can just make a comment that this was originally a 1-year contract in 2018, and this is a 2-year extension that was built into the original procurement.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney?
What was the amount of this contract in a prior year?
It was $134,506.
Thank you very much.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Palmieri. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmieri?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham absent. Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions 2 through 5, which are budget insertions. We can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Sergeant Capodanno from the Sheriff's Office is here to address those items.
Sergeant Mike Capodanno, Essex County Sheriff's Office. So I'm here to address 4 and 5. I guess 2 and 3 are supposed to be done by our chief. Not sure if he's here. I'm here to address 4 and 5. So I'm currently sitting on the UASI board, which has to do with the state contract, Homeland Security, and state Homeland, 2 separate grants. So 4 is for the insertion for the state Homeland, which is $408,000, and then 5 would be the insertion of the budget for $320,000, and that's for UASI grant through the state.
I can do 2. No? So you can do 4 and 5.
That's 4 and 5, that's it. That was 4 and 5.
And, Mr. President,
Yep.
with your permission, Mr. Coltre will do 2 and 3.
Mr. President, this is a grant from the Office of Attorney General for $110,000. It's for emergency preparedness to run the Office of Emergency Management. It's usually a $55,000 from the federal side, and it assists the all-hazard plan, which usually consists of all matching, employees' salaries. It's salary and wages. And that is $56,161, which is a match for the various officers and clerical staff that work in the Office of Emergency Management.
Okay.
And number 3 is a professional service agreement, update the Essex County multi-jurisdictional all-hazard mitigation plan TerraTech Inc., May 1st, 2019 to June 30, 2021, amount not to exceed $214,881.15. This is a comprehensive plan updating the all-hazard plan, which includes securing various sites, identifying sites throughout the county, vulnerable sites throughout the county, and participating with all the municipalities to upgrade the hazard mitigation for flooding, emergency management, et cetera.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have
Yes.
any questions or comments?
Yes, please. Mr. Coltry, on number 3, the backup information indicates this is completely grant-funded. Do any of these budget insertions, 2, 4, or 5, fund or partially fund that contract on number 3?
No.
I don't believe so.
It just comes from other grant sources?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McInerney?
The grant that funds number 3 is the pre-disaster hazard grant. 2, 4, and 5 are just budget insertions and have no fiscal impact on the county.
Okay. Freeholders, questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second to take resolutions number 2 through 5 together?
I'll move it. I'll second this.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano, second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham absent. Freeholder Johnson? Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel? Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 6, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, Mr. Ortiz and Mr. Boyd are here to address these issues. Just Mr. Ortiz, excuse me.
Good evening, freeholders. Alfaro Ortiz, Director, Essex County Correctional Facility. I am here to request the extension for 3-month period of time for the Chief Commissary to continue to provide the inmate personal issues that they require while incarcerated in our charge until such time that this particular contract is rebid.
Okay. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, as you may recall, in leadership conversations, we talked about the need to, in response to the board's concern, we were going to go back out for bid, which we will do. I haven't actually gone out, but we will, in the meantime, we need to provide the service, and this will just give us a small window of time that we need to continue to provide the service until we can get the rebid done.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Ms. Parlavecchio?
No further questions. Mr. Jackson laid out the history.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney?
Same, no questions.
Freeholders?
Laid out.
Motion or moved by Freeholder Siebold,
I'll second.
second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel? Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes, for
Freeholder
the
Palmer-
3-month extension.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris? Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson? Freeholder Graham absent. Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, resolution number 7 has been withdrawn by the administration. Let's move to resolutions 8, 9, and 10. Can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Director Fishman is here to address those 3 items.
Good evening, President Gill, Freeholder President Gill, and freeholders. This evening, we're asking for approval and acceptance of the 2019 Environmental Health Act CEHA grant agreement. And 9 and 10, I have with me, we're talking about 2 other contracts that we had in shared services with Essex County Regional Health Commission and Nutley Hazmat. And so I have with me Lieutenant Cassidy and Rich Budris, each from respective areas.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, this is on resolutions 8, 9, and 10. Questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Seabold?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions 11 through 8. Excuse me, 11 through 18. Yep, thank you. We can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Zates is here to address items 11 through 18.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Good evening. Item number...
Mr. Zates, I'm sorry, excuse me. I see that we had a representative actually from Nutley Department that was here tonight, and I just wanted to thank you for doing a great job, and thank you for being here. I didn't realize that I apologize, I didn't realize that they were in the audience. So, you don't have to make any comment at this time, but you've been doing a great job, and thank you. So, thank you.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 11 is a contract with Sign Labs for various banners and signs throughout the county park system. These are the banners you would see when driving through the various parks roads, informing residents of upcoming events such as the Cherry Blossom Festival, happenings at the zoo, and what have you.
Keep going. You want to run, freely see, you want to run through them all, or do you want to do them one at a time? Sure.
Does this company do the signs that show which park is there?
Through you, Mr. President, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry. Freeholder.
I'm sorry. When you enter a park, there's a sign saying which park it is.
No, those are the wood carved signs I believe you're referring to.
Yeah.
No, these are the banners that typically
okay,
hang
thank you.
from the light poles. Would you like me to
Yeah,
run through them? Sure.
Why don't we go through each of them?
Sure.
And then we'll come back to questions at the end.
Number 12 is a contract with GPC for interior and exterior painting services throughout the park system. This is for all the various buildings throughout the park system, and we do have a representative here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Rusano. I'm with Graphis Painting Contractors, doing business as GPC, Inc. We are located at 20 East Willow Street, Millburn, New Jersey. Our president is Brenda Graphis. The company has been in existence for over 50 years. We have about 40 employees, 10 of which are from Essex County, and 5% of those are minority. We are a union shop, and we are, as Josh had said, for painting services. I have a list, if you'd like to hear, of work that we've done in the county, or would you like me to go through this list?
Sure.
Okay. Painting services for various Essex County facilities from 2012 to 2014. Interior and exterior painting services for the Parks Department 2015. Painting of Hall of Records, stair towers, and tunnel in 2016. Painting of bathrooms, floors 9 through 13 at the Willents Building and Steve Adubato Center in 2016. Painting and caulking at Cody Arena 2017. Exterior painting and power washing at shed buildings in 2018. Painting and caulking at Veterans Courthouse 2017, and painting of various facilities at Turtleback Zoo 2018 to present. We are a women business enterprise, and we are a small business enterprise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we can just ask our vendors to stay until you're done, so because I think there will be questions, but we're going to go through each of them, and then we'll come back.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 13 is a contract with GSP Properties for carpentry work throughout the park system, and we do have a representative here.
Good evening, freeholders. Michelle Jensen, owner of GSP Properties. GSP is a woman-owned business as well as a small business enterprise based in Metuchen, New Jersey. This is a time and material contract for carpentry work at various Essex County facilities on an as-needed and as-requested basis. Our projected workforce for this contract is 3 workers, 1 from Essex County, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks for your time.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 14 is a contract for irrigation maintenance and repair services throughout the park system with Aquamist, and we do have a representative here.
Good evening, freeholders. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. My name is Walter Mugavin. I am the owner of Aquamist Irrigation. This is our 26th year of operation. We're involved in irrigation construction, management, stormwater management, fountain aerators, water parks. We are authorized service providers for Rainbird pumps, authorized service providers for Rainbird central control, and authorized service providers for Aquamaster fountains. We have 20 employees. Regretfully, none of them are from Essex County. We do have 72% minority employees. We are a non-union shop. We are certified public works contractors. We do maintain all of the irrigation systems throughout the county, including the 3 golf courses, all of South Mountain Recreation Complex, Turtleback Zoo, and all your water parks, which, by the way, are all ready to be opened for Memorial Day. I mean, Labor Day, whatever was coming up. Memorial Day, yes, that's where we are. And we also have service contracts with various townships: Weehawken, Belleville, Nutley, Hoboken, Franklin Lakes, Norwood, Kearney, Long Hill Township, numerous school districts, Rutgers, and the New York Giants and the New York Jets. And we are a small business enterprise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a question.
Real Richardson.
You can come back. So is this your first contract with Essex County?
No.
And how long have you had these contracts with Essex County?
I think it's about 9 years now.
About 9 years, and you still have no Essex County residents in your employ?
We have certainly tried. We really have. And the last time you and I spoke, I gave you my card. You said you would have people call me. No one ever called me. There was a gentleman in the audience that night. I gave him my card. Someone did call me 3 days later. I told him to come in the next day. Never showed up. We've advertised in various newspapers. We have been on Craigslist. We've hired some people from Craigslist. None of them were from Essex County. We did have someone who worked for us a few years back, moved to Florida, came back, moved to West Orange. And he was going to start to work for us, except he couldn't get there in a timely fashion. We
do have workforce development here, and there are a lot of people who go through training through this workforce development. I'm sure the county should be able to send you someone.
Go ahead.
Listen, I got you. You've been trying. I dropped the ball. I didn't send you anyone. That's a fact. I take responsibility for my shortcomings, but I'm asking you to give us another shot. And if through the business administrator, we can connect you with workforce development, I'm sure we can find somebody from Essex County.
Well, that's fine, and we're certainly willing to.
I appreciate that. So since you mentioned that your company employs how many minorities?
72%.
72%. How many African Americans?
4, 5, a couple of
4 or 5%.
Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans. We're.
No, that wasn't the question. The question was how many African Americans?
I believe 4. 4 out of 20.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 15 is a contract award with Store Tractor to service the Turo brand reel mowers, and specifically it's for the Park Systems golf courses. There's 32 reels. The company will come in and replace the bed knives, grind and sharpen the reels, replace the bearings, seals, and what have you. Number 16 is a contract award with Larson Ford to purchase 4 new trucks with plow equipment. Just to give the board a little information, we're specifically going to purchase 1 Ford F-350 with a plow, 1 Ford F-350 with a Western Whiteout extra large plow, a Ford, and then 2 Ford F-450s. And they're going to be replacing some older vehicles in the fleet. Specifically, they're all Ford 250 pickups ranging from 2001 and 2002 and ranging from about 100,000 miles to 140,000 miles. So those will be taken out of the fleet and replaced with these new vehicles. Number 17 is a service agreement for our various fireworks shows. Just to give the board a little information about when they're taking place, and we certainly hope you can attend. May 25th, the show will be at Weequahic Park, June 28th at Branch Brook, July 1st at Weequahic, and then our fireworks spectacular on July 3rd over at Brookdale. And number 18 is a revenue contract with Salil Atunis for mobile ice cream truck in Branch Brook and Brookdale Parks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McInerney,
No questions.
Mr. Parlavecchio.
Just a question on 13, Josh. That's the carpentry work. Is that just as needed as repairs come up, or is there a predetermined schedule and you'll call people out?
Through you, Mr. President, it's as needed.
Freeholders, resolutions 11 through 18. Questions or comments? A motion and a second.
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmieri? Absent. Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions 19 through 26, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Director Sanjeev Varghese is here to go through 19 through 26. And also, is Janet
Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Resolution number 19 is a open-ended as-needed contract to buy freons for our chillers in various public works buildings. It's an as-needed contract. We use these freons whenever there's a leak in the chillers. And last year we barely used it, and this only happens when there's a leak in the chiller. The maximum amount is $20,000. Resolution number 20 is the drainage contract. It's called miscellaneous drainage contract. This is used to fix catch basins, manholes, drainage pipes, small culverts. We have a representative from Colonelli Brothers who is the lowest bidder on this job. Here, if you have any questions. Lucas.
Good evening, Mr. President, freeholders. My name is Lucas Prokop. I'm a project engineer with Colonelli Brothers. We are a contractor out of Hackensack, New Jersey. We are a small business enterprise, and we have about 60 employees. Over 50% are minorities. For this job, which is basically continuation of our current job, which we have with the Essex County, we don't anticipate to have more crew bigger than 5 laborers, out of which will be 3 of them will be out of Essex County. And basically this is an on-call contract where we work with the Department of Public Works and we go wherever they want us to fix drainage, catch basins, inlets.
Thank you.
Yes, we are union shop.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 21 is a life safety contract for the building we recently purchased, 320 University Avenue. This is to just maintain the fire protection system in those two buildings. Again, there is a fixed maintenance cost, plus in case there is any repairs to be done, there is a as needed cost. And the total contract is for $43,000. And there were two bidders, and this is the lowest bidder.
Okay.
Resolution 22nd is for the building management system for 50 South Clinton. That's economic development building we have. And Siemens is the equipment we use there for the building management. They are typically a prototype equipment. Only Siemens can fix it. This is a 2-year contract, and the flat rate for the maintenance is only $20,000. And anything more than $20,000 is if we need it as needed basis. Resolution number 23 is just to give a facelift to the new police academy building we just purchased from the Essex County College. This is basically for the painting, light fixtures, some minor signage, electrical fixtures. I have Representative Mike Siccarelli from Grove Contracting there from the road, Cedar Grove here, if you have any questions.
Good evening, freeholders. My name is Mike Ciccarelli with Grove Contracting. We're out of Verona. We're a general contractor, and we provide general contracting services. We employ a range of 5 to 20 employees. We're a non-union company. We are prevailing wage. We reside in the county. We've done a previous contract with the community center, and we look forward to providing the same services with this contract.
On this, I just want to make myself corrected. We are leasing this building, not, we didn't purchase the building yet. We are just leasing the building.
Brother Richardson.
I got a question. Your business is in Essex County. How many Essex County residents do you employ?
We vary. Sometimes we employ...
Just, can you come to the microphone, please?
Just state your name.
Mike Ciccarelli. It varies. Sometimes we employ 5 to 10, depending upon the work we're doing. But we do employ Essex County residents.
Thank you.
Resolution number 24 is for traffic intersection rehabilitation. Foggia is the lowest vendor. We typically use this for anything which we cannot do in-house, like typically used for like knockdowns when there's an accident and they knock the traffic light down, and they come and help us, which is beyond our in-house ability. And I have somebody, Anthony Cifelli from Foggia here to answer any questions.
Good evening, freeholders. My name is Anthony Cifelli, President of Foggia Trinity Electric out of Scotch Plains. We've done this contract the past 11 contracts. We employ 5 employees, 1 which lives in Essex County. We're a union shop. And the company's been in business for 23 years now.
Thank you.
Resolution 25 is the contract for Riker Hill. We are basically doing a total facelift at Riker Hill. Some minor paving, a scenic overlook, some steps for ADA compliance, a total facade uplift, some drainage, minor drainage improvements, a new fence, ADA pedestrian access, new signage, and a new raised ADA garden. These are the improvements we are doing, which will give a phase 1 facelift for the whole 43 acres of Riker Hill. I have somebody from APS here. If you have any questions, they did the police headquarters building for us. Recently, they did a couple of playgrounds also. They did the train house at the zoo.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Steve Savreski. I'm the president of APS. The company has been located in Paris of New Jersey. We employ about plus minus 20 people, out of which we have 6 to 7 from Essex County. We have currently completed a few projects for Essex County. The latest was the train station over at Turtleback Zoo.
Freeholder Richardson?
Is it a union shop?
We are non-union, but we do also PLA jobs, so it depends on the project.
Resolution 26 is for car wash. This bid is for 2 car wash vendors. One is for east, one is for west. This is to wash our fleet vehicles, mostly sheriffs, corrections, public works, parks, any vehicles, they can go there and wash the vehicles. We typically use less than probably $20,000, and this is the maximum amount is $60,000 for 2 years.
Okay, Freeholder Richardson?
So where exactly are these car washes located?
One is in Livingston, one is in Belleville.
Okay, resolutions 19 through 26. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No further questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? A motion?
I'll second it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Cooper? Freeholder Cooper? Yes. Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's take Resolution 27, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of our 2-year agreements that we have with a number of universities with our hospital center. This one's a 2-year affiliation to deal with social work students. Kane University covers the insurance, and this is a great relationship for the students as well as our staff and our facility.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Okay, freeholders. The mover?
I'll move, Mr. President.
Moved by Freeholder Palmeras,
Second.
second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 28, which you can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Coltrane.
Mr. President, this is a one-year contract with Hudson Community Enterprise for shredding service countywide for all departments. We will be paying .08 cents per pound and a $7 fee for each department that will be utilizing this service. This is a sheltered workshop, and it was a bid exempt, non-fair and open.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, questions or comments? Do I have a mover?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel? Yes. Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Cooper? Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolutions number 29 through 31. Read into the record at a later time. Budget insertions, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, items 29 and 30 are very similar, both regarding energy assistance programs that we've gotten some money from the Department of Community Affairs to support some of our salary and wages that go to administering these programs, both, again, home energy assistance program, and depending upon one's relationship to the poverty level, either 175% or 200% individuals qualify for these programs. And these are programs, I think, at least for number 30, that we've been doing since 1982. Item 31 is a bit different, and it's a new source of funding that Essex County was selected by the state to run some programs that look for employment opportunities for young people between the ages of 16 and 18 who are currently enrolled in high school. They have to be Essex County residents and in a household receiving TANF benefits at the current time. So it's a great opportunity for us to provide low-income students for employment opportunities. Again, we were one of 8 pilot programs selected by the state to run this program, and we'll have work preparation skills and workforce preparation skills centers to help the kids become more effective employees. And it's in the amount of $192,000.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders, questions or comments? Have a mover and a second?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson.
Second, Mr. President.
Second by Freeholder Palmeris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Johnson. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeris.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to, we're going to move to 56, which is an added starter. We'll read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Coltrane.
Mr. President, this is our annual, biannual omnibus resolution for $8,055,000. It allows the Office of Purchasing and the purchasing agent to utilize state contracts, co-ops, and anything that would be purchased over 17.5, not to come back to the board with every purchase order. With the new MSI system, the various departments are utilizing the system and the omnibus vigorously, I should say, and purchasing various items from these co-ops and state agencies.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goltry. Mr. Parlavecchio.
Just more of a statement than a question to Mr. Coltrane. These are predetermined commodities or products. There's a limited number of things that we buy off of this, but it essentially eliminates hundreds of resolutions.
Correct, and what we usually use as a rule of thumb, if anything is significant, around $100,000, we bring that resolution back to the board, even if it's a state contract, example, ammunitions, vehicles, et cetera.
Thank you.
McInerney.
Mr. President, this is just another way of trying to limit the amount of smaller items or recurring items that need not come before the board. State contracts, cooperative contracts, things of that nature as well.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson.
So how does a business or a service provider actually get on a list?
What happens is a co-op, example, Middlesex County Co-op, Union County Co-op, would go out for a bid. And in the bid process, they ask, do you want a co-op?
So Essex County.
We have a very small co-op that we utilize. So when a bid comes before the board, there's a box that the vendor would check off and say, yes, I want a co-op. So what happened was we did utilize our co-op for the prosecutor. We went out for vehicles for one of the departments, and the vendor said, yes, I want a co-op for contiguous towns or other departments. That's how they would participate in the co-op. And what other companies do, a vendor would get on Bergen County's co-op, and then we can utilize that co-op and that vendor off of that co-op. Right, they put out an original bid. So let's say Morris County puts out paving material. Our Department of Public Works or Parks would go to that, buy that particular material from the co-op, because they are allowing us to utilize it, and we become members of Middlesex, Union. We utilize Union County for our various phone systems, for Johnson Communication, because they are part of that co-op. So instead of us going out to bid for Johnson for telephone service, we would purchase it through that co-op.
So is there a fee to the county to belong to the co-op?
Some have fees and some do not.
So what do the fees range from?
They can range from $150 to, I think, $1,500.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I was only going to add to that. Mr. Coulter is correct, and he touched on it, but I think the vital part of that is that those contracts are fully vetted, whether the state or through the cooperatives, similar to what we do, if not exact what we do. So you are getting, without us having to do all that, it takes all that effort out of or the need for that effort on our part, because it's already done at the cooperative or state contract level. And that's the big plus.
So it kind of does two things. It does that, but it also takes any oversight away from us as well.
No, we have oversight over the contract 100%.
So if we vote on this $8 million, if we pass this, what's that amount?
Well, that's not all cooperative.
Okay.
That's not all cooperative. That's the omnibus resolution.
Correct.
That includes a number of things that could be quotes that are below the bid or like extradition items that we do with the sheriff's department, very small amounts for travel. You really can't go out to bid for that. So those go through the omnibus resolution.
Only thing I look at, it says $8,055,000.
That's not a contract. That's an allocation of authorization, much like a budget, pardon.
So we're just giving an okay for the budget. And again, so you streamline it so they don't have to come back to us for every single item.
Well, you wouldn't come back.
I get that part.
Right.
I got that.
Mr. President, through you.
Yep.
When a department, you have authorized, let's say, $500,000 for paving materials. When they are purchasing this paving material through the department, you have already authorized that budget and that line item. So we're taking that money out of that. So when you see an account line in a resolution, it's the same principle. We're using that account number for that line item for that department to purchase.
So the example you just gave with the $50,000 for paving, what happened if you don't use $50,000, if you don't buy $50,000 worth of pavers?
That stays in
Where
their,
does that money go?
it stays in their budget, in that department budget.
So they just continue to roll it over and get more money?
The only thing the $8 million is allowing us to do is authorizing me to sign off for that department to utilize that line item. So they're buying that material with my authorization that you have given me to under the threshold or over the threshold of 17.5.
Yeah, it's not under, it's over.
Over.
Okay.
Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to make sure I understand. This is giving you authorization for you to go buy things for the various departments from the state contract vendors?
Correct.
And am I reading this correctly, that you've already spent $5 million? Are you asking for an additional $8 million with the 5, or the difference between the two numbers?
The $8 million has been authorized already through various departments. The $8 million is countywide. Example, the Freeholder Board would like to buy $20,000 worth of items off of a state contract. It comes from your budget, doesn't come from my budget. You're not authorizing me to spend, you're allowing me to approve them to spend the $20,000 off a state contract.
So this is pens, paper, clipboards, the things that we use on an everyday basis, and this is saying that if an item total more than $100,000, you have to come back to the board for the
We
individual
usually
approval
do.
of that.
Yes. That's a rule of thumb that we usually use. If someone wanted to come and spend $100,000 for, let's say, a truck, and they're buying it off of a state contract, we would bring that to the board so you're aware of it.
So some of the items that we saw tonight, like Public Works was purchasing trucks, that number that we saw tonight is against this $8 million or no?
No, because we went out to bid for that specifically.
All right, so these are items that you haven't gone out to bid for, but the various departments need them.
Example, if we wanted to go buy one sheriff's vehicle, and the sheriff's vehicle is for $40,000, and they know it's on the Middlesex County Co-op, they would get all the specs, all the documentations, submit it to my office, and if it is fine with all the documentations, we would then charge their line item $40,000 and purchase it.
All right, so this is for the state contract vendors and the co-ops.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
Move it. Second.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson? Freeholder Graham absent. Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolutions 32 through 55 are commendations and memoriams. Do I have a mover and a second?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
I have a question.
Freeholder Sebold.
I'd like to be included in 48 through 54.
Okay, there's no objection by the sponsors, I'm sure. Okay,
Okay.
absolutely. Any other changes? Okay. Reports of boards committee, oh, I'm sorry.
No.
We have a roll call?
No.
Thank you.
We got a motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes. Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham absent. Freeholder Johnson? Yes. Freeholder Luciano?
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
Freeholder Palmeras?
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson?
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo?
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Report of board committees, legislative reports, written communication, unfinished business, new business, public comment.
Good evening, everyone, freeholders. My name is Pamela McElvin. That's my husband Gerald. We here
Good
in
evening.
reference to, we are the Palm Tree Block Association. We are 501c3 nonprofit organization. We've been around for a little bit. But my concern that we here tonight in reference to Belleville Park. I came here on the 10th and said a little something about it. Dan did meet with me. We went over a few things. He suggested some of the things that I asked for that I should write Joe D, which I sent a letter, emailed him a letter. Because I tried to explain to him the senior building in which he allowing me to have access to when needed, it don't have a window. And that's why when you open the door, it was I guess it was an odor on one side of the building, in which I think his name was Gary, said that he would take care of that. And I asked for benches, for like, if we have something there, if the seniors wanted to come out and sit, there's nowhere to sit, which Dan said that would be fine. But my main concern is that it's a school directly across the street. It's no fence, it's South Orange Avenue, busy traffic. Then it's going to the Parkway, north and east. The cars, I even took a video, stood there, how fast the cars are coming. So if people wanted to come from the school, there's 2 schools there. If they wanted to come, they would definitely have to dodge the traffic, for one, and they don't have a fence, so some of the kids get out of Speedway and they run directly across the street. If there was a fence running all the way around, they would have to go to the corner to cross. So that was one of the main things that I felt like, building pardon me, right away. The playground was renovated. It's nice, but the old bathroom sits in the middle of it. And Dan said they wasn't gonna touch that building. I said, well, I don't think that's not good, because anywhere you have a play area for kids, it should be visual all the way around that space. When I was there, a gentleman came in, hopped the fence, and went behind the building. So you can't see from off the street on that side. And I feel like even if
30
you make
seconds.
it a canopy, like a canopy, just open up that space where you can see that whole entire perimeter of the playground. Then it was, well, the bathrooms, he said, will be open soon, the bathroom. But like I said, the 2 main things was the fence going around the park, the complete park, and that would alleviate some of the garbage, because people cut across, it's too open. And then I also, which you probably would see, it's like the playground is nice, but when you come out of the playground, it's just soil, dirt. They got trees around it, but there's no mulch around it.
Your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's no mulch around it it have to be inviting. It's not inviting. But they have been out there cleaning, so it's been out there just about every day. So appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for your work in the community and for coming here this evening. I know that you sent this letter to to the entire Freeholder board, to all the members of the board. I know that the administration is working through some of these issues. The one I was recently there, probably about 10 days ago. The one issue, Mr. Jackson, is the fence itself. Around the entire park. I mean, we've been talking about that for a while now. So if we could, for our next meeting, just have some update or action on what we're going to do about this fence. And again, frustration clearly is not dictated to anybody that's in this room, but the fence is simply repaired. It hasn't been repaired for some times, and we need to do it. So, and there's places where there's no fence, it's torn down, it's time, and maybe there's a reason, I don't know, but we need a better answer.
Understood, Mr. President.
Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Field President. My ask would be, can we come up with a solution for the bathrooms? You guys have done a lot of work in a lot of the county parks, right? You put beautiful equipment there. And on Saturdays and Sundays, as the weather is getting nicer, you have kids and families that are there. Like the Orange Park in particular, the bathrooms have a sign up that's been up for probably about a month saying that closed due to water issues or something. But even when you repair it, one of the complaints that I've been getting is access to the bathrooms. How do we get people access to the bathrooms over the weekends? So I don't know the schedule of the bathroom attendants, but maybe if we could post it or come up with some other way. I was recently traveling and in another state a couple months back, and to go to their bathrooms, you had to put a quarter in to go to the bathroom. At least then that controlled derelicts from going in, people abusing and beating up the bathroom, tearing things down. So if we can come up with an alternative way, would be great to figure out to get families access to the bathroom over the weekends. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Cooper. Thank you. Okay, if there's no one else who will wish to speak at this time, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one else wishing to speak at this time. Freeholders, do you have any additional comments you would like to make? Vice President Richardson.
Yes, we recently had a affirmative action meeting, and at that meeting, another disparity study was called for, which the administration agreed to. Any idea when that RFP will be out, or when this stuff is going to go out so we can get moving?
I will have a response for you this week, Freeholder, on that.
Excellent. Also, I'd like to know who will be judging the RFP, how it will be graded, and who are the people who will be doing that grading. Because we've had some issues with folks on other bids, not necessarily the best people doing the judging, in my opinion. Also, to you, Mr. President, the gentleman who spoke initially, who was an employee, who said his insurance was terminated, I'd like to know who the broker is, who the insurance company is, and what's the circumstances around his insurance being terminated.
Okay, Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the administration for picking up the trees at Orange Park. They're finally gone. I appreciate it. And can we just get an update, Mr. President, whenever we get a moment, on the status of the legal program for the ICE detainees? Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Cooper. Do you want to give that number, probably, Gil, or do you?
Yes. Freeholder Cooper, I could give you a brief update on that. We've had a number of conference calls with the ACLU and a group called Vera Institute about developing this project. Vera Institute, just to give you a quick background, was one of the groups that was a founding member of the New York City Universal Representation Program. So they have a scalable model, you could call it, that they've already rolled out in 12 different cities. They have what they call a network, the Vera Network. They're looking to expand it to other cities. That's one option that we're looking at. The administration has met with some of our local law schools and other groups, and I am actually scheduled to sit down with Chief of Staff Phil Elijah and County Council on Friday to more or less compare notes, talk about where we've been and what the plan is going forward, so we can then have some more meaningful discussions next week.
Thank you.
Great question. I'd like to follow up that question. So have you now been in the meetings with County Council and other folks who have?
So that's Friday. I'll be there Friday. Although I've had plenty of conversations with County Council, we've been on phone calls.
But you haven't been in any of the meetings that they've been having? So you've been having?
I think this is the next meeting.
Okay, but you've been having meetings with certain folks. They've been having meetings. So now you guys are going to come together?
That's it. Okay. And then there's, I think, a meeting they're trying to schedule for next week with Seton Hall, Rutgers, and maybe First Friends, American Friends, one of the other advocacy groups.
Outstanding.
Yep.
Think that sums it all up.
Great work.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So moved. All in favor?